Today we will go through one of the lessons that Charlie Munger wanted us to learn from history. Before Charlie Munger died, he recommended 23 books where we can learn lessons and improve our lives. And one of the books is this Guns, Germs and Steel that he recommended us reading. So maybe you've heard that we should learn from history, but what are those lessons that we really should learn and apply in our own life? That can be that can be a very big topic. But in this book, the author, he goes through why some civilizations became more modern and civilized and some stayed hunter-gatherers and how that affected them. And this we can really apply in our own life. So I want you to look with those glasses of how can I apply this in my own life? What are the lessons I can apply here? Never before has it become more important to be relevant in the workplace and in the market. So we need to evolve, we need to continue to develop ourselves and not be left behind. So what are some things that these hunter-gatherers did? How did they live their lives and why did they stay as hunter-gatherers? Why did they not develop more modern civilized societies? Well, in the book he describes it as these people, they lived where it was easy to find food. There was not so a dense population. They had lots of space to roam and to live in. So there was no really a need for them to develop. At the same time, other groups of people, they found themselves living in a more dense environment. They were more people crowded together, and they needed to start organizing themselves into a society. So something that these people also did was that they started farming. They found plants that they could grow and harvest, and this enabled them to make a surplus of food. And that word surplus is one of the most important words in this video, because when they could start produce a surplus of food, suddenly they could have a few people who focused on the farming and became really efficient doing that. And other people did not need to spend their day looking for food or growing food. They could specialize in other things like organizing society, having like a political role, or becoming a warrior, or doing business, or a craftsman, for example. So they all could start specialize, and specialization is the second important word in this video. They started being able to specialize in different crafts, in different skills, which made them as a group much more effective, and they were able to do much more advanced things as a society. So in the book he made an example of one group that started to be able to produce a surplus of food, which enabled other people to start develop new technologies, for example. And they got the idea, okay, what if we build this big fish dam? And they started harvesting and growing fish there, which gave them more protein and more nutrient-rich food. And that enabled them to have more food and a more surplus. So this kind of went in a spiral. And it's almost like here is where compounding started. They found how to create more surplus that in the end led to more surplus. So why is this important for us to learn today and look at? For me, what I learned from this when I read this book is that, okay, how can I create surplus for myself so that I can free up time, so that I can develop myself, and so that I can create even better ways of making money, for example, or better ways of living life, being a more civilized individual. So if we start creating a surplus in our own life, which is very rewarded in today's society, we can start to invest that. Those investments can start to produce income for us. A very efficient way of leveling up in life. So while we now have more time, we can start to become even more efficient at these things. We can increase our productivity, look for better jobs, create better businesses, better ways of making money, increasing the return of our investments, for example. And that speeds up this process and creates a positive cycle. So the second important lesson that I learned from this, that Charlie Munger wanted us to learn, is that specialization is very important. The market rewards specialization. So when a few people started focusing on food production in an efficient way, other people could spend the whole day or several hours a day becoming masters of one subject. And when many people did that, they became very advanced as a society. We can do the same. We can make sure to specialize, to become really good in our field, so that we can contribute with that to other people and to society, which will contribute to society more. It will make us useful and able to plug into society and work and contribute. But also it will produce more income for us. We will be able to charge more for what we do because we are more specialized, we're more skilled in what we do. Questions that we can ask ourselves to really implement this in our own life is, how can I create surplus? How can we make more than we spend so that we can start investing that in assets? The second question, what is my fish pond? How can we become more efficient in how we earn an income, for example, or make our business more efficient? Remember, the fish pond produced even better food and more protein for the individuals. How can we make the same in our life by creating a better business or having a better job, for example? It could be also. Third question, what are the equivalent of hunter-gatherer activities in my life today? For example, what are some things that are outdated that we're continuing to do that are not bringing results? What are some things that we could outsource, for example? Because now it's important to update ourselves in this society, to be able to have a healthy business, to be able to have a good job if you want that. So how can we stop doing old things and really improve ourselves? So that are my 2 cents on this book and the lessons that Charlie Munger wanted us to learn. Try answering those questions for yourself, or if you want, read the book and dive into it yourself and see what conclusions you draw. Thank you for watching. See you next week.